Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. I am Gunnar Eos, and welcome to another podcast of the Logical Gamers podcast. I am here today with Mr. BlankaKong, Mr. Esoteric, and Mr. Hotto Wolf. So, today's topic is going to be it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a lighthearted one. We're going to discuss our favorite video game controllers that runs the gambit, the conventional, the default, whichever one, any controller that we've used since we've started gaming way back in the day, our favorites. And if we have time, we'll talk about some we didn't really care for because there are some bad controller designs out there. So I'll start off. My favorite controller design has and always will be the PlayStation controller, the Sony PlayStation controller. I'm a basic bitch. I just like to have my controllers straight laced and to the point. And Sony's kind of always given me that ever since the PlayStation. The controller's been comfortable. It's not too big. It's not too small. The face buttons have always been solid. The only thing I've ever had an issue with is the D-pad, and that's when I used to play fighting games before I messed around with the arcade stick, which I'm sure my fellow panelists will talk about later. That would always I would sometimes try to do a Hadoken, for example, and my nail would slip under the D-pad, and I would open up the skin under my nail. It's fun times. Let me be more descriptive about it, right? So PlayStation's always been there. The face buttons are good. The D-pad is serviceable, and except in the fighting game situation I was talking about. Shoulder buttons are solid. I will have to take away points from the PlayStation 4 controller that decided to have some weird floating trigger button, because the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation had solid L2 and R2s that were kind of molded into controller, and then PlayStation 4 had this weird floating trigger button, which I never really was a fan. I got used to it, but that's one I'll take away from it. Other than that, I mean, it's a solid controller. During the time of the Xbox 360 to PlayStation 3, the PlayStation controller was a better option for me because it was chargeable. You could charge it through the system. They had special docks for it, while the Xbox was still using AA batteries, which I felt was I think we're a little bit beyond batteries. So that was actually a really good thing from Sony, was that the controller was chargeable. I didn't have to use AA's anymore, and I charge it right on the system while I'm playing it, or while I left it on sleep mode, it would charge. So before I pass it off to my fellow panelists, I'll just say the Sony line of controllers have always been my favorite because they're just simple, to the point, and they allow me to play the game. So Sony controller for me. So gentlemen, let me hear your favorite controllers, or controllers that stood out to you in your gaming escapades.
Gaming escapades. So who wants to go?
I'd have to agree with Gunnar that the PlayStation controller, Sony has kind of I guess for me, mastered what a controller should look and feel like. However, I can say that I also did love the Wavebird for the GameCube. When I got that controller, I think I played all my video games with the Wavebird. It was heavy, so I kind of felt it in my hands. I know I'm holding a controller, but at the same time, it being wireless and responsive for as early as those types of controllers were around, or in early stages of those types of controllers. I have no issues. I think the Wavebird was one of the few times I've actually can say okay, I don't feel like I wasted $40. Because I think it was $40 or $50, something like that. Nintendo controllers were always pretty expensive. But anyways, I definitely agree with the Sony controllers, and I also definitely agree with the Sony trigger buttons. That didn't make any sense to me. I felt like it took us an eternity to push that button. That's how I felt when I was playing video games, especially reaction-heavy video games, like fighting games, before I evolved into the arcade sticks. I didn't like the trigger buttons on the PlayStation 4, correct? Or was it PlayStation 3?
Didn't it start with the 6-axis controller, where the triggers, the back triggers was kind of like falling off, and you had to
Like
push really
protruding
hard
out of
down.
the controller. I think it was
Yeah.
PlayStation 3.
Yeah. I just looked it up. Yeah, 3.
Yeah,
3 is when they
PlayStation
started.
3. But I also can give it to the Wavebird. I really liked the Wavebird. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I remember the Wavebird. That was like during a time where I learned later on that wasn't like the first wireless controller. Sega Genesis had wireless controllers. Back then they were using remote as, so a lot of things would interfere with it. But
Mhm.
the Wavebird was different in that it used its own channel selection. So it had like
Yes.
the yeah. For those that don't know, that you would plug in like I guess an early version of like a USB dongle into the GameCube, and it had a series of channels from 1 to, let's just say 5. I don't remember the exact number, and that allowed, or 4, because the GameCube came with 4 controller ports, and it
Mhm.
allowed everybody to individually tune to channels 1 through 4, so no Wavebird like clash with each other, and everybody had a Wavebird, or you can be a dick and tune into your friend's channel, and then all of a sudden you're controlling his character and you throw him off the ledge in Smash Brothers. Fun times. But yeah, no, the Wavebird was really really good for its time. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah. Anybody
So,
else?
For me,
Mhm.
I love the Sony controller, specifically the PS2 controller. But the controller that's kind of like taken first place for me is the Xbox Elite 2 controller. There's like good weight to it. It uses aluminum parts. You can change like the height of the sticks and everything. You can even change the D-pad. So like this has like a circular D-pad, and you can put on a more traditional D-pad. It has like grips on the ends, so it's like it's just really comfortable
You're
to
actually
hold.
holding it,
You're
right?
holding it, and it's easy to
You
keep a
don't feel
grip on
like
the
it's gonna
controller.
slip out of your hand.
That's one of my biggest problems with the DualSense 5 controller. I
Yeah.
feel like that controller is really
Yeah.
slippery.
Yeah.
Same to a lesser degree the PS4 controller. Even though I love the PS4 controller, but that also feels really light and kind of slippery. Still good, still a great controller, but I've always liked the. I think Xbox has a really good design, starting from the 360 onward. I think they had a really, really just solid build of controllers. I like the analog sticks kind of like diagonal from each other. I don't care for the sticks being right next to each other. Even it's fine, but it just feels easier and more comfortable to control if the sticks are like diagonal from each other, the way that Xbox has it. The triggers also have like it's hard to see because I'm showing it on, like, I'm on webcam right now during this recording session, but like even the triggers have bumps on them, so like you will know if you're hovering over them, like you'll feel the little bumps on the end. So, and this controller has a rechargeable battery pack, so you don't have to use AA batteries, which is good. It also has the ports in the back for the paddles, so if you want to add more buttons to the back for, to use your other fingers instead of your thumbs, you have that option too. So I think for me, like, the Elite controller is the best. The Elite 2 specifically. The first Elite controller was pretty cool, but that came with its like defects because it was the first in the market. I think this was in 2015, 2016 when that came out. This one is a 2022 model, so they definitely enhanced it and made it a lot better, in my opinion. No hate on the Sony controllers, but like Xbox kind of dethroned them for a long time. For me, it was like the PS2 controller was the best controller ever. But I think the Xbox Elite controller kind of took that spot. I have other controllers in mind, but
Funny enough, you say that because I'm not sure. I don't. Well, you not a Sony pony. I said no. I'm just kidding. Sony is actually doing their own version of that now. I recently saw an article of that. I'm like,
controller.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, so that might be more of a marketing thing, a competition thing. But hey, look, if it equals out to a better controller for the Sony, console owner, I know those controllers are pricey. That's like 200 something. Yeah, so it's not exactly
It ain't cheap.
a McDonald's meal. Let's say. But
I didn't know I didn't know controllers get that expensive.
yeah,
Yeah.
that I know the elites are. I mean, it's elite for a reason, I guess. But
Well, I got
yeah, I
mine
just
at a good deal. See, I didn't
well,
pay
yeah,
full
yeah.
price.
You know
Yeah,
a guy that
hook-
knows a guy. I get it.
Yeah, hook a brother up because I'm definitely interested in acquiring, one of those controllers in the future
Well,
or something.
Good luck,
But,
my friend. Good luck. I wish you luck.
But no, I just found that funny that Sony's now doing their own version of it. So I'm curious to see. I'll look it up when it comes out. See how, how it stacks up against the Elite. Since now the Elite has a, I guess, direct competitor.
Yeah, I would have to say like it's pretty pricey indeed. However, you are paying for like the customization. Um, I'm not sure how far back Sony's own goes, but I'm pretty sure with the Xbox you're able to not only play, current gen games, but you can also utilize it on previous systems as well. Not too sure if Sony is going to do that in regards to their new controllers.
No, I'm pretty sure. No, you can't use PS5 controller on a PS4. Can you? I don't even. Don't
You,
don't quote.
Not
I don't
think you
know.
backwards.
can.
You can do P4 on P5, but
Ah, okay.
can't do P5 on P4. We've
There you
tried.
go. Ah,
Okay,
there you go.
Mhm.
okay.
Confirmation.
Because I know you're
Mm.
able to do it like P4 to P3, but the stipulation is
Mhm.
that you have to have it connected. So I figured they would have followed suit with P5 to P4, but
No,
I
you could
haven't
do
tried it.
wireless. You could do wireless PS4 to PS3. The only thing you won't have access to is the PlayStation, like the home button. That won't be functional. So
Okay. Okay, I definitely stand corrected then. um but in regards to the control I would choose, I do appreciate Sony controllers. Like I do love them. However, I have to side with Kong in regards to not the the elite
why are
controller
you
he has.
copying me,
Because
man?
We got some X bones.
listen, not the elite controller because I don't have the
The
funds for that
standard.
kind of stuff. Yeah, I would say like the standard Xbox 360 controller.
Okay.
Preferably the one that actually allowed you to adjust your D-pad, where you had to push down and then kind of rotate it to give it the diagonal feels.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like that was a pretty great controller. The buttons were, responsive. The design was comfortable. The triggers, all the buttons, the analog sticks, they were easily accessible. My only gripe about it was pretty much that it didn't come with a rechargeable battery. And with it having a glossy finish, I tend to have slipped out of my hand a couple of times. Um, Xbox did fix this. I'm not sure what system they did it on because I'm referring to 360, but I do have the Series X where this base controller has like little stubbles that kind of allow you to like grip the controller a lot better and more efficiently. So that's pretty good. But yeah, I have to give it to Xbox in terms of the 360 controller because it covered all bases as a whole. It was easier for me to play fighting games on that controller with the D-pad alone. Um, before transferring over to the fight stick, and shooters were easier to play. All other genres and things like that. I think it's a pretty good controller. Not taking anything away from Sony. It's a great controller in my opinion.
All right, so this is we've mentioned it a couple times already. Let's talk about that weird time when like fighting games had like a resurgence with Street Fighter 4 kind of revitalizing Street Fighter and fighting games in general, and that how wild it was that arcade sticks, portable arcade sticks existed and were popular, and we all used it in this group. So I guess I'll start with my experience. Like when I first met these guys, it was kind of when Street Fighter 4 was, I guess, in its heyday. It was like just kind of recently released, and everybody Street Fighter 4 was what everybody talked about, and then like I forgot who brought it in or who talked about it, but like one day I saw this big ass fucking like suitcase arcade stick, and they were using it to play Street Fighter. I'm like, is that like an arcade stick, like from the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 fucking pizzeria arcade cabinet? It's like, yeah, it's literally the same thing. It's the buttons, the 8-way joystick, and these guys were doing combos and stuff with it. So I got into Street Fighter 4, and I ended up buying one myself. I still have it to this day, and I don't know, it's just like a weird time where like everybody was playing arcade sticks, and it was kind of a throwback to more arcade, like actual physical arcade era, where everybody was on like the arcade cabinet and you had the dual cabinets. That was a weird time, but it was a nice time. And you know, R.I.P. Mad Cats. They're no longer with us, but Mad Cats used to make the fight sticks, and I have to say, as far as like a controller that you would constantly like jerk the joystick, characters have charge motion, so you have to hold back and then jerk forward, and 360 motions and quarter circle motions. The buttons were solid, and the stick itself was solid. I never really had an issue where my arcade stick broke in any capacity, and I admit I have dropped it on occasions, and it still kicked. And the good thing about those controllers is that it also worked for old arcade games. So if you played the X-Men beat 'em up, Ninja Turtles beat 'em up, it would work for that. And like, this is like literally playing these things on an arcade cabinet, but I'm in the luxury of my house. So yeah, I don't know. We mentioned it a couple of times, and solid controller for what its purpose was.
Yeah.
So
go
Go
ahead, Wolf.
what I was saying was that I can, ever since being introduced to actually a home version arcade stick, I can never play a fighting game with a regular controller. Like, not even like some people, a lot of people will play, for instance, Tekken or Soul Calibur with a regular controller, right? Because that's just the style
I
or
heard
the
that,
way that
yeah.
the game is played. I can't even play Tekken or Soul Calibur with a regular controller anymore. My body is so in tuned in just using I think fighting game, and I think this is the appropriate controller. It's the only controller to use and not to wear out my console controller for that fighting game. The arcade sticks are built sturdy. They're designed to take that kind of beating. I've slammed my arcade stick out of frustration a few times, and it still works. But yeah, fighting games for me, it's always going to be arcade stick. I can't see myself playing a fighting game with a regular controller. I get so annoyed. I feel so uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in response to what you were saying, Wolf. I'm pretty much the hybrid. Like when it comes to 2D fighting games, I definitely bring out the fight stick. But when it comes to 3D, it's a regular controller. I feel like the inputs for 3D fighting games are a little more you know, least, like they're a little more what's the word I'm looking for? They're
Lenient.
more
Lax.
yeah, they're more lax. Exactly. Yeah, they're a little more lax in terms of like, the button combinations and the inputs, whereas the 2D fighting games are a little more harsh. Um I do enjoy using a fighting stick. I'm pretty sure these guys could recall my harsh transition from playing with regular console controllers to utilizing a fight stick. It was a really steep learning curve for me, but I was able to get it down packed. Um, it it kind of remind me of people who type efficiently by utilizing like the ASDF JKL semicolon method to be able to type without looking. That's how it felt for me utilizing the fight stick. Um, I think one of the reasons why it's very durable is due to the fact that the buttons are interchangeable, and within the enclosure it's nothing but wiring and maybe little pieces of plastic that allows you to like adjust your stick the way you want it. Like they have like the square, um, the square gear, and then for like the American style, they have like I guess it's the octagon. Um,
Yep.
yeah,
Is it the
which
other way
I like
around?
to use. No, I think American style is
The
the
American style is
octagon.
the octagon. The
Okay.
Japanese style is the square.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so with it being customizable, with it being durable, and just having like limited pieces associated with it, I think that's what makes it very durable. Um yeah, the fight stick was awesome. I another controller that kind of reminded me of the fight stick that made it somewhat easier to play fighting games. Um which was like came around earlier on. I don't know if you guys remember like the old school Sega Genesis controllers that had like the button scheme.
Yeah, that's the original Sega Genesis controller.
No,
The original.
the original one had only 3 buttons.
It
And
did?
then
I thought it
yeah,
had 6. It had
no,
okay.
that was the much later ones.
It was a much later one. All right, I
Yeah.
stand corrected.
Wasn't it like really hard to play Mortal Kombat on the Sega Generous? Sega on the Generous.
Yes.
It's a generous system, let me tell you. Because it was literally missing inputs. Like it just didn't have enough buttons for the. I heard that
It-
somewhere.
Yeah, it absolutely was like the start button had to be the block button.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, who's pressing the start button to block?
Yeah,
Nobody block. We all taking hits to the face here.
yeah,
Wow.
and I think you had to press, if I'm not mistaken, button combinations to get like the high punches and like the low punches because the button scheme for the Super Nintendo was I think it was XY that was high punch high kick, and then it had AB which was low punch low kick, but the Sega Genesis didn't have enough to accommodate the buttons, so yeah, it was harder but better because it actually had the blood and gore and stuff. So
So yeah,
Yeah.
the original Sega Genesis controller was October 29th, 1988. The 6-button arcade pad was 1993, so a few years later.
23 years later. I think that's the one that we had in my household. That's why I thought that was the original one.
Yeah.
yeah,
I think
and
because it was my sister who had the Sega Genesis, and I remember using, or when I got old enough to play Sega Genesis, I remember using a 6-button controller.
yeah, even though I didn't choose the Genesis path as like one of my favorite controllers, I have to, pay them their respects because if I'm not mistaken, and you guys can confirm for me or whoever's watching this can confirm in the comments, I believe they were the first ones to come out with the analog stick. Like,
Oh.
I believe for the Sega Saturn, they had a particular controller that had the analog stick associated with it. So
Yeah, according to what I'm looking at, well, NES had a arcade stick, but as far as like on a pad, technically, I mean, you could say it was the same time. So according to Wikipedia, so this could be incorrect, but this is the only source I have in front of me. N64, their controller came out in 1996 of June, and then Sega Saturn came out July of 1996. So,
Oh my gosh,
Up
that's
to
the same
you.
time.
it
Up
was
to
really
you.
close.
Yeah.
It was really close. As far as I recall, that controller was launched with this game called Nights into Dreams. So
I remember that game.
yeah, I only remember it. I only remember it because the controller, because of the game. It was like a bundled purchase.
Another solid controller that I don't I only use this on my Switch is the Pro controller, right? The
That's
Nintendo Switch Pro
I
controller
love the Pro
is
controller.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Even though it's
yeah.
missing a few features, I would say, like a headphone jack and maybe like they have like at least the ones that I have like the little bumps on the sides. I think they all have that. But like that could use a little revamp. I think the bumps could be a little more substantial, a little grippier, if that's even a word that I can use. But like Other than that, the Pro Controller I think is perfect. The triggers are really comfortable, and like you can tell what you're hovering over. The weight is like perfect. Like it's not too heavy. Like the Elite controller is not too. It's not too light like the PS3 controller. I think it's like the perfect size. The sticks feel really good. The D-pad is pretty solid. The buttons are good. I think this is like one of Nintendo's best controllers, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I
would
could get
definitely
behind
say
that.
so.
Yeah.
I would say so as well. My only issue is that it's on like Nintendo, which is great, but you know, how can I explain this? Because I do love Nintendo, but it's
Yeah.
Don't worry,
it's
no
on
one's gonna crucify you. You can.
it's on the wrong. I feel like it's on the wrong system. Like I feel like that controller specifically can be utilized in other areas within the Xbox or the PlayStation's catalog. I feel like there's I don't know. That's just
Well, I'm
my
trying to figure out what you're trying to say because Nintendo only has one console in the market, and that's the Switch right now. So
no, but what I'm saying is like it has it okay.
So instead of what's your gripe about it then? Like flip it, like change it, right? Because you're not what you're trying to say. I don't know if you're just trying to be sensitive to emotions or if you just don't know the words to put it. So let's flip it. What is your gripe about the controller? Just lay it out, complain about it. We all do it. So
No.
what is
I
it?
mean, my gripe isn't with the controller per se, but I feel as though like Nintendo's catalog doesn't really fully utilize the controller. Like, for example, if you look at like Sony's lineup where they have a bunch of shooters, they have a bunch of like fighting
I
games.
get what you're saying now.
The Nintendo doesn't have that wide catalog to utilize the controller to its fullest potential. That's just my like humblest opinion. Not saying that Nintendo is a bad system, it has a bad catalog per se. I'm just saying that the controller that they created, which is a phenomenal controller, could be utilized elsewhere.
I get what you're saying. I mostly disagree with you on that because the reason is because when you're looking at like the Xbox and the PlayStation I guess catalog, we're looking at a ton of AAA games that is designed to use, I guess, all the buttons on the controller for the most part because they not only advertise the pretty graphics and the bland stories or, the amazing new characters that's coming out for this day and age, but they also put a lot of things in there for the characters can do, like, oh, you can climb this, you can do this, you can go, like, so you need that button scheme, I guess, to meet those metrics. However, Nintendo, at least from what I saw on the Switch, especially when I go like onto the online store, it's a lot of indie games and it's a lot of like games that's just like, what the hell, this came out? Like, what is this? Right? But we don't play all those games. We're not looking at those games. And then if you want to go on the AAA side, then you have Zelda, which utilizes all the buttons. You have Bayonetta, you have basic Mario games, or the newer 3D Mario games. You have certain racing games. You have Smash Brothers. Like they are there, but I think when we think of Nintendo, we're thinking it's just natural as gamers who grew up in that space. It's natural to think of simplicity versus like say Xbox and the Sony consoles where we've always praised them for their constant complexity. But like I said, I play Smash Brothers from time to time. Or I used to anyways, play Smash Brothers from time to time using the Pro controller. I use all my buttons, even though Smash Brothers have shortcut buttons and stuff like that. But I do use all my buttons on the controller. That's just one example, for a game that is considered big name that's using all the buttons. So I get what you're saying, but I don't feel like that's 100% true. I think Nintendo just has a lot of games that's just like these are the Nintendo games, and if you want like the third-party games or the games that you feel is going to be more complex, you actually have to go looking for it. Maybe I made sense, or maybe I didn't make sense, but that's just the way I look at it.
I think you made perfect sense. I tend to agree with you. I'm gonna disagree with Mr. Esoteric there. I think it's easy to look at Nintendo and just think Mario and Donkey Kong and Mario Party and stuff like that. Simpler games. They have, especially the Switch, they have a very large, deep catalog of like really complex games made by like Platinum Games. Like if you think Astral Chain, you think Nier, you think, you know, these kinds of games. Breath of the Wild, even, like that's a full-on 3D adventure game, right? These games utilize the controller, I think, to the fullest potential, because if you look at the Switch Pro controller, it's not different from a 360 controller. You know, I have a 360 controller here. You know, it's almost identical, right?
Yeah.
So, and 360 had a swath of like complex games for its time. So, I don't know. I would agree if that statement was for like the Wii U Pro controller, which is another controller that I love, because it's one of the first controllers that like, it was hard for me to go back to play Monster Hunter on 3DS or any other way after playing Monster Hunter Ultimate 3 with a Wii U Pro controller. It was like, holy shit, this is so much better.
Oh, well, I figured that's what you guys were referring to initially, the one where it actually had the analogs both at the top, as opposed to them having the analogs like the Xbox.
Yeah, I think the Switch Pro controller is superior. The Wii U Pro controller, I think, is good, but it is not the best controller. But for me specifically, like my anecdotal experience with that controller was Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate on the Wii U. It was like, whew, this game is, like, it's so much smoother to play, right? Especially with the underwater maneuverability and combat and all that. So like that controller made things way easier, because the original Wii controller, the Wii Pro controller that had no handles on the side, while I made it work, it was rough. I would get cramps playing with that thing because it was so compact, which is why I can't go back and play Super Nintendo games on an original Super Nintendo controller, because that controller is, my hands are too big for that. I can't. It's too much. I'm definitely developing arthritis trying to play with that controller. So yeah, I would agree with you if you said that about the Wii U controller, but the Switch, I think the Switch has a really deep library of like really complex games. So I respectfully disagree, sir.
No, that's fine. That you guys, after what you said, it was really enlightening. So it does make sense.
Yeah, so, suck it. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just kidding.
But
so let's talk about controllers that we don't like.
The Wii U controller. Let's just put it out there.
What, you mean like the iPad?
The Wii U pad, the main controller.
It's not an iPad. It's a Logitech, a Leap Frog. That's what it was. It was a Leap Frog pad. That shit was horrible. Piece of shit. Horrible.
Let's hear it, Esoteric. The Wii Pad Defense Squad comes in.
No. Like here's my thing, because I do hate it as well. But my thing is, am I being a hypocrite because I have a Steam Deck now and it's the same fucking setup? Like, if you look at it, it's the same freaking setup. But handheld. It's the same shit. Same exact shit. So am I being a hypocrite, or
you don't have a dog in this particular fight?
I liked the Wii U gamepad personally, but I liked it for games like Mario, Donkey Kong, DuckTales, like those side-scroller games. It was really comfortable to play those games. It did feel like a Fisher-Price product, if I'm being honest with you. Like just the build of the plastic, and just the buttons and the sticks felt kind of goofy too, like a little too big. But it's like I don't know. Yeah. I got used to it and I enjoyed it for what it was. But the Switch controller, you know, especially with like the Hori, I think Wolf, you have the same thing. The Hori Joy-Cons, the bigger ones.
Yeah.
It's the Split Pad Pro, I think it's called.
Yeah, the Split Pad Pro, yeah.
These things. I like I have all my controllers in front of me.
I have something similar to that.
These, the Hori Split Pad Pros, these make the Switch like so much more comfortable, right? Because it has like the little it's hard to see, but like it has a little like grip for your hand and everything.
Yep.
Like it's not so rounded like the regular Switch Joy-Cons.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Wii U gamepad had that problem where after a while my hands would fall asleep being in that position without having something to grip onto. I did play with the Steam Deck. I feel like the Steam Deck is a little too big. It's a little too wide. It's fine. I can work with it, but Steam Deck is a little like bit of a gargantuan system. It's like, okay, you know.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like the Game Gear of its time, but I must say, like in terms of holding it and actually playing, it feels comfortable. Like it doesn't affect my hands in any way.
But
shape,
you
or form.
you need adult hands to handle
Yeah.
that. Like if I was like 8-year-old me, I probably couldn't play with the Steam Deck.
But then again,
Nah.
I wouldn't even buy this for an 8-year-old. So I mean, it
Fair
is
enough.
designated for people who actually play games and those computers. It is big. You probably need like a book bag and a half just to put the shit in there, you know. But I must say it is comfortable.
So about the Wii U pad, might be a little tangent. I liked it, but it had nothing to do with actually playing it or using it in a video game.
Oh, you use that as a remote?
No, I used the Pro controller like Kong talked about because it was a fantastic controller. But I did like the fact that certain games utilize the screen as part of the gameplay. So a specific game that I played, I put a lot of time in, is Xenoblade Chronicles X. Xenoblade Chronicles X used the Wii pad as your map. And because the pad was touchscreen, you can like touch parts of the map and like zoom in. The game had like a resource gathering mini game where I can touch it and collect the resources. Now, would you say, but Gunner, that has to do with the functionality, not the actual controller itself? And I'd agree with you, but I did find that cool. It did make me feel like before I had money to have 2 monitors on a PC. It made me feel like I had a 2 monitor setup because I had the little pad on a little stand and I was touching it to like manage my resources and then my little TV at the time to play my game. So I thought that functionality was cool. And in terms of how Xenoblade Chronicles X used it, I thought it was really cool. But yeah, I never really used the actual controller because once I had enough money to get the Wii U Controller Pro, I bought that and that stayed with me until I moved on to the eventual Switch. So that's my 2 cents on that monstrosity of a thing. And I always forget to charge it, so it'd be dead half the time.
I can get behind that simply because like one of the main things I loved about the Dreamcast controller wasn't really the Dreamcast controller, it was the VMU memory card. So I mean, if we're gonna get behind features, you know.
Speaking of the Dreamcast controller, I think that's one of the worst controllers Sega has ever produced.
Really? Oh
Yes.
wow! I thought it was. I mean,
agree.
it was goofy, but it functioned.
It was hella goofy. That thing was, and I love the Dreamcast. I think the Dreamcast is awesome, and I like what the VMU feature was cool, but the actual like, it wasn't comfortable. It was like a damn square. Like, what the hell is this shit? I didn't like it at all, and then the sticks were not. I don't think the sticks were good on it at all. So,
Huh. Well,
sorry.
no.
I think for its time it was okay, but
Sure,
if they
because
were
we
to
didn't
make
know
like-
any better. But like
Yeah,
back
yeah.
then, like when I went from Dreamcast to PlayStation 2, it was like Dream what?
Yeah.
There's no going back.
PS2 all the way.
You see, I feel like I woke up from a dream. Holy
Shit.
yeah.
I mean, for me, this might not be a hot take. For me, it was the N64. That's my least favorite one.
Yep.
It felt
Yep.
like I'm grasping a piece of the human anatomy that I never want to grasp again when I'm trying to play a game. The only cool thing was, 8-year-old me was when I put in the Rumble Pack, it felt like I was loading up. I was like, let's lock and load Rumble Pack. But that's just my child brain. But the N64, I don't know how I got through with it. And I played a decent amount of N64 games. I have an N64. It's over there. And the controller was just like, what is this? That was peak Nintendo just doing it to be kooky and weird. The N64 controller, in my opinion, is peak Nintendo. Before Nintendo grew up, put on the suit, and made the Switch controller.
Yeah.
That's when they were like in their wild artsy phase.
The N64's design, and this is gonna give me mad heat, but fuck it, is how I feel. The N64 controller is the equivalent to the PS5 design, the console design.
Oh, you took it out of my mouth.
Bro, it's alien as hell. It's like, what is this shit?
Wait, you're saying it's equivalent to the PS5 controller
It's
design?
just as
No, the
like,
PS5 console, like the console
design.
itself, it's
that's what
ugly.
I was
It's an
gonna
ugly
say.
console.
Yeah.
And the N64 controller is ugly as hell. I remember back then, 95, 96, 97, 98. I had a PlayStation. I was a PlayStation kid. And people had N64, I was like, bum ass controller. What you gonna do with that boomerang? Can't touch my PS1 controller.
With like the pencil fix stick that fucking side story, playing Mario Party on that shit tore my palm up. Because that little joystick was just hard plastic. Playing that stupid ass mini game. I come looking, my palm is bloody. I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Your game was Mario Party. Mine's was wrestling. When I'm trying to get out
No
of grabs
mercy?
and shit. Oh my
man.
god.
Next thing you know, you can't write, you can't go to school and fucking do your homework because your palm is just the skin's open. It's like I'm not supposed to. I don't play sports to avoid injury. That's why I don't play. Why am I getting injured playing games?
People looking at your hands is like, what happened? It's like, Mario Party. It's a rough game.
Mario Party 4. That's why, fun fact, in Mario Party 5, there were significantly less games that had you rotate the analog stick.
Oh my god. Yeah, wrestling.
Makes sense.
WCW, NWO versus the World, No Mercy. Jesus Christ, getting out of submissions, kicking out. Oh my god, my palm would be red as hell and it would hurt. Like I would have the imprint of the 3 circles
Yeah.
on my palm just from rotating really hard. Like
so, I mean, I know the N64 wasn't Nintendo's before the Wii U. Wasn't Nintendo's best console, not counting the Virtual Boy, because that was another peak Nintendo moment.
It's a beloved console though, and people love that controller.
Yeah.
And hey, people are into what they're into. Some people like feet, right? Like I'll never understand that, but whatever, they like it. So if you like N64, then cool, whatever.
I mean, granted, the
PlayStation 1 all the way at that time.
The special edition controller for Donkey Kong 64 could only be pulled off on the N64. Because I don't know if you guys ever seen it, but it was a yellow controller, and the part that you grabbed
was a banana.
Oh, I only saw the green clear one.
I don't even remember the atomic green. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you guys have time, look it up. It was that.
Let me see that.
It was a banana.
It can only be done on the N64. It can only be done.
I mean,
Let me see this.
N64 banana controller. Wow, that's a thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the tip has like the little brown. Oh my god.
I mean, it looks cool, right? As a Donkey Kong fan, I'm glad that they did something for him, but it's like the controller's still ugly. Like it looks like an alien spaceship control, like a steering wheel on a fucking alien ship. That's what it looks like to me. I can't get over it.
It's like you're playing. It looks like a monster from Galaga. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, but the Dreamcast controller is I'm not a fan of that controller. What was another bad controller? The Sega Saturn controller, the one that looks like a CD player. I was like, I'm not even gonna try.
Oh, that was the analog. I think
I never played a Saturn.
Oof.
Yeah,
Like-
that was the one with the analog stick. But I like their base controllers that came with the console. It was pretty good.
Yeah, the normal controller, the one that looks like a fucking Transformer Sega Genesis controller, like it's more boxy on the ends.
Mm-hmm.
That one's cool. But then I saw the CD player one. I was like, what the hell? It looks like a damn frisbee. Get that shot of my face.
What was the purpose? Was it just round?
Yeah, it was just round.
It was round,
share it
but
with
it had
y'all.
the analog stick. That was the one I was referring to that came with Nights into Dreams.
Well, I don't personally like the PlayStation 5 controller.
Oh, okay.
The PS5
Yeah.
controller, you're not a fan?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I think
Me neither.
it's broad and it's slippery.
Yeah, I like it,
I
but
don't.
I could see that.
it would have been better if it was slightly smaller.
This is the
Mhm.
Sega Saturn CD player controller.
Oh, it does look like a CD player.
Yeah,
What
Yeah.
the fuck? That is ugly.
yeah,
It was very ugly. It
pretty rough.
it was responsive though. It was
Wait, what's that one that looked like a Star Wars ship? What's that one?
The Space Orb
Space
360. I've
Orb.
never heard of this. This is on PC. I don't know what that is.
Oh my god! Look
Gotcha.
at the boomerang, the Apple Pippin.
Oh, that's the Virtual Boy. Yeah, the Nintendo anorexia problem was the Virtual Boy.
This was the OG Saturn controller. This is what
Yeah,
this
yeah.
one I played, and this one felt pretty good.
Yeah,
and
Virtual
then-
Fighter was amazing on that.
Yeah, and
This
then-
was the one that I
yeah,
grew up using.
That's the original
Mm.
Sega Genesis. Well, not the original, the 6-button layout arcade controller.
Yeah, the 6-button
This was the
layout.
OG.
That's the
This was the
The
16-bit.
original. This is the OG one.
Yeah,
Okay.
the 3-button layout, which holding it today is really cumbersome. Not a well-designed controller.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
My question is, how the hell do you play the Power Glove? Like, how the hell does that work?
You don't. You bought it because your parents had way too much disposable income. You were an only child, and they bought it for you. You didn't really play it.
Well,
Yeah.
certainly
Oh,
not.
and I didn't like
me.
the original Xbox controller either. It was
Oh,
too
the
huge.
Duke was ridiculous. Yeah.
I grew to like the GameCube controller. At first, I didn't like it.
Yeah,
But-
same. Oh.
I grew to like it after a while of using
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's not my
But,
favorite controller, but at first I was like, "What is this Fisher Price bullshit?"
Again.
But then I play playing Smash Brothers, but I was like, okay, I can see, I get it.
Why?
Like it's I
Yeah.
can see the comfort. Would I jump to play with this first? Probably not. I'd probably still go with PS2 or even
Mhm.
the Xbox original S controller, not the Duke, the slimmer normal sized human one, not the one that they made for giants. But yeah, GameCube was cool. I think this was like a step in the right direction.
Mhm.
Yeah.
One of the few controllers to come back from the dead. So
True.
Oh, the Wiimote. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
it's a controller. It functions.
That's all I'm gonna say.
I like the Wiimote. I used to play Smash Brothers Brawl with the Wiimote. That was one of my main ways to play.
Same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that was me too.
It was fine. I actually really liked the Wii. Some of the best games that I played on Wii, obviously Wii Sports, Wii Boxing was great. Resident Evil 4 on the Wii was really fun. The on-rail shooters, was it Resident Evil? What is it? Umbrella Chronicles, Darkside Chronicles, those were fun. House of the Dead was really fun. There were shitty games too, like the Prince of Persia ports that had you swing the controller to swing in the game didn't translate well at all. It was really shit.
Metroid
But,
Other M.
I haven't played that, but I know that was pretty bad too.
Yeah.
But the stick on the nunchuck was pretty. It was serviceable. It was fine. The buttons on the front were fine. The A and B buttons were fine on the main Wiimote. It was serviceable for me. It sits in the same area as like the GameCube controller. It was
Did they
weird
have
at first,
the,
but fine
like,
later.
like a thing like a frame that you put it in to act as if you're holding a rifle? Didn't they? Was this
Yeah, the
the
zapper, the zapper
Zapper.
controller.
There you go.
the zapper? Okay, so it was
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, it also
So-
came with like a rubber for it to like, enclose
be-
it so that it don't hurt nobody.
You gotta be safe when you're playing the Wii, man.
Yeah, you got to protect yourself at all times.
Yeah, protect those TVs too.
I enjoyed the Wii. I thought the Wii was cool. There was a lot of
Yeah.
shitty games on the Wii, but the good ones were really good. So
Hmm.
and
I
then,
agree.
We had great games like Tatsunoko vs. Capcom on the Wii, which will forever stay on the Wii. Right, we're never gonna see that game ever again.
But for me, the Wii introduced No More Heroes, so I appreciate the console because I am a No More Heroes fan.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, let's not get started with the PlayStation Move. Oh Jesus.
Yeah, PlayStation Move was basically another remote, but it lit up. It's looking at this controller reminds me of that stupid Nicolas Cage magician movie. The main bad guy had like a staff with a PlayStation Move ball on top. It's so funny. I'll never forget that.
That's a prime example of Nintendo could do it. We could do it too. Look, guys, look, we have motion
well. Hey,
control.
you know what? They're using the same technology for VR today. Now, the games being developed now use this controller. So
Yeah.
Really?
hey,
Oh, okay. I guess it's still.
you know,
This kind of
So
reminds me
prominent.
of like was it Iron Man 2 with the hammer tech? And then he just couldn't get it right.
oh yeah, the guy
He was like,
broke his back because the
Yeah,
machine
like-
just twisted. And I was like, all right, turn it off. We don't need to see that.
Oh god.
The Xbox Kinect motion controls, I did not like this whatsoever. I can respect the attempt at innovation, but I don't think it didn't do anything for me.
Yeah. The catalog wasn't there either, so I don't know if like it would have been better. I don't know, but
I think for games like Just Dance, it was perfect, but other than dancing simulations, I don't think it worked at all.
gotcha.
Hmm.
You
The
know?
Ouya controller, what the hell is that?
So the Ouya
That was for the Ouya or Ouya.
Ouya
whatever.
controller. Yeah, this came out 2012, 2013. It was supposed to be like an all digital console, and it was supposed to emulate games really well. It flopped hard, kind of like the Stadia did. And that was their controller, which looks fucking. It looks like
Weird.
some knockoff shit. Like if you were to make a parody of a controller, that's what you would think of, and so that's what they had. Where's the There's another controller that's really bad. The Steam controller. Holy shit! This
What the
controller.
hell is- it looks like it got two black eyes. Like
Yeah, the Steam controller is pretty bad. It's supposed to emulate
Yeah.
like a mouse pad, which is those circles, the black eyes as you call them. But it's too slippery. It's too like curvaceous. It's kind of compact. I was like, when I first saw it, I was like, what the hell is it? And I saw people buy it. I'm like, you sure you want to buy that, man? You can't return it.
I believe it's discontinued. It's
Oh,
no longer
yeah.
being produced.
Oh yeah, this is a relic of the past for sure.
Yes. Steam was like, bro, just plug in your controller and we'll just give you the drivers to make it work.
Yeah, that's kind of it, and I don't blame them. Yep.
Ooh, Stadia. Collect that before it becomes a museum piece.
look at
Well,
that.
this basically looks
Amazon-
like a poor man's fucking pro controller.
Yeah.
the Amazon Luna. I mean, it's just pretty much a pro controller.
Yeah, essentially. I have no experience with this controller though.
Me neither.
And then the Joy-Cons, I think we could take some time to talk about the Joy-Cons. Joy-Cons, I think, is just a newer Wiimote. But the stick drift problems with those controllers is ridiculous. Like, those
Yeah.
controllers get stick drift for nothing.
Yeah.
The
That's
form
why I
factor,
don't
too.
own any now. Because they both got the drift, and I just threw them away. I didn't even bother replacing them. I don't own any anymore.
Wow, I think the form factor too is a big problem. Like it's way too small in handheld mode. When they come together with the little like
The power
device
grip?
that you,
Yeah.
they're great to use, but
I wouldn't even say great, because I think the buttons are really they're just too fucking small, and then the triggers are really small, and so when you put them together in the grip, the middle grip piece or whatever it's called, it becomes like, it looks like a fucking Ouya controller. It's like this little boxy ass fucking controller. It's just like, I don't know. I hate it, actually.
I don't know. It
really-
does when it's in the grip, it doesn't bother me as much as when it's on the actual Switch.
That's fair, but the bar is
yeah.
already so low.
That's true.
In my
That's
opinion.
I mean, I've been playing my Switch more and more in portable, because, if you're playing a strategy game or RPG, fucking, that's why I play them on the Switch. I'm gonna chill out in my bed while doing that. So I've been playing it handheld more and more. Yeah, I can see why Wolf and you, Kong, bought the attachments that you did, and I might end up buying one myself, because the Pro controllers are cool. Like, I mean, the functionality is there. Great. I'm happy for it. I hope it does well. But like when you're playing it, and I have smaller hands, compared to most of you guys. And I can function with it. It can work, but it feels like if I press the X button or A button a little bit too hard, the whole thing's gonna snap. It feels like it's gonna snap in half, and I don't. That just gets me paranoid. So I can see why you guys bought the beefier third party Joy-Cons that you guys did.
Split Pad Pros, yeah, those are really good.
Yeah.
I bought that as well, but one of the issues that I have with it is that I can't load them up into like this little case that I have. Like I can't put the Joy-Cons in there with the Switch. With the original ones I can, but with the ones I can't do it. That's pretty much my only issue with them. They work really well. They have a nice grip, easy to use, pretty responsive. Yeah, I don't have anything bad to say about the third party ones I have.
It makes it feel like a Steam Deck.
Yeah.
You know, and the Steam Deck is, while it is a portable device, it's not portable friendly in my opinion. Like it's you got to like really prepare to bring that thing with you.
Yeah.
Whereas the Switch is a little easier. Like it's slimmer, it's sleeker, it's, you know, with the Joy-Cons that is, it's easy to carry around. If you have like a fanny pack or like a small backpack, not a problem. With the Steam Deck or with the Hori Split Pad Pros, makes the Switch just like really long, gargantuan system, which is like, if you're not carrying a large book bag that has a compartment specific for that stuff, you're not gonna really walk around with it. And I don't find myself traveling and playing too often. Like I don't play on the train or anything like that. I just kind of listen to music at best. So for me, it's not it's I could see it being a deal breaker for you or for those who travel a lot and play on their travels. But for me, I don't play on my travels, so
no,
it's whatever.
It's really not a deal breaker for me. It's just one of the cons regarding it. You know, as you guys already know, where I reside is more heavily driving based, so I rarely get to play anything on the go. You know, when I commute, it's me actually physically driving from point A to point B. So yeah.
All right, any final thoughts before we wrap this puppy up?
I guess I'll just end with 9 times out of 10, I think simpler is better. If your controllers are just good quality, which usually most for first party, the Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, their controllers tend to be pretty high quality. I know the Joy-Cons they've got some flack and justly deserved for their Joy-Con drifts. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. But sometimes simpler is better. I know, like, as the video game consoles have evolved, we've had some wonky designs. We talked about the Dreamcast, the N64, the GameCube, and there's some nostalgia factor in looking at those crazy controllers. But I think now that I'm older, just give me a simple controller, bro. As long as it's comfortable, it fits well in my hands, buttons are easily accessible, and it's a good quality build, I'm fine with that. Simple is better. I don't want any. Don't give me another N64 like controller anymore. I'm good.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So with that being said, for those listening who made it this far, thank you very much for your viewership. We appreciate it very much. Leave a comment down below with you know, what your thoughts are on what we were talking about. What are some of your favorite controllers? What are some of your least favorite controllers? Tell me how much I'm wrong about the N64 controller. That's fine. Let us know in the comments. Subscribe for more content. We do podcasts every week. We publish every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. We also run a Discord, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All those links will be in the description down below, so check that out if you're interested. Also check out Mr. Esoteric on the main channel on Twitch TV, Logical Gamers TV on Twitch TV, right? He streams twice a week. He streams mostly AAA games and some party games as well. So definitely check him out. Follow him so that you know when he goes live. If you want, you could follow me as well. I'm BlankaKong on Twitch. I don't stream consistently, so I mean, you follow me if you want to know when I go live, whenever that happens. And if not, that's fine too. We also do we have plans of doing other content in the future on this YouTube channel. So we're going to be doing more 2-minute reviews. We're going to be doing long form gameplay content as well. So, you know, subscribe so you're made aware to when that goes live. So with that being said, thank you very much, guys, for a good conversation. This was a good one. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Till next time.
It is.
Here.